Welcome to the Saints, the City and Me, audio love letters to New Orleans and its beloved Saints. Today we have a special guest that many listeners in both the UK and the US will recognise. A UK native now living in Louisiana who's running businesses in America, is married to an American and is likely a US citizen by now, which I'm sure will piss Dan right off. He's also blogging from the Superdome every week, which pisses us all off. Please join me in welcoming Martin Wilmott. Hi, Martin.
How you doing, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thanks for coming on.
Pleasure.
It's a pleasure to meet you in person.
Yeah, we've been set.
That's a great start. No, it's good to be on. It's always strange that when you watch somebody and you feel you know them anyway. You watch stuff online, you're like, oh, I know that guy, and then eventually you meet up and they go, actually, I don't know this person, but I kind of do. It's strange.
Yeah, it's a little bit like, obviously none of us are, but I suppose it's a little bit like when you meet a celebrity and you've been following their career and then you actually get the opportunity. You think, oh, I know them, and you think, well, actually, no, I don't. I'm just a bit of a fanboy. So yeah. Anyway, moving swiftly on from being fanboys. Thankfully, on this pod, we can talk Saints. And Martin, obviously, from your point of view, you're sort of over there. And what's it been like these first two opening games? What's the atmosphere around the area and all those good things?
So, compared to last year, I mean, I've been a season ticket holder for 3 years now. Although I've been to many games, but I actually managed to get season tickets 3 years ago. So I've gone through like the real downside of it where they weren't doing very well. There was all the political stuff going on. So people were giving up and not going because, for whatever politics. And the team weren't kind of seeing the downside of it, being sitting in the stadium and seeing it 2/3 empty. Although they sell every year, again, they've sold out again this year. But there's a bit of marked difference. I mean, from the last game last year to the first this year, huge difference. I believe my at about 8:30, drive down there about an hour and a half. I'll get there about 10 o'clock, 10:30, have a little walk around and get in the stadium. I like to be in the stadium about an hour before kickoff. But like the week before, the first game of the season, it was very different. Traffic was way busier, and I get there 2 hours early, and it was way busier. The parking lot when I parked was 3/4 full already, and there was just a mass of people. Champion Square was thriving, whereas normally it's full of away fans. I mean, obviously there's a lot of Saints fans, but most of the Saints fans I find tend to stay in town, drinking in town because it's cheaper, and then come to the game and drink afterwards. But Champion Square for the first game of the season was rocking, and I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a good game. It's going to be like a divisional playoff." So there was a month between last year and this year, and none of us knew what we were expecting. To be honest, none of us went in there thinking, "Oh, we're going to be world beaters. We're going to be like we thought we're going to win." But I was worried that it's week one, and week one's always dodgy because you never know who a good team is and who a bad team is, as has been proven. So I was in there thinking, yeah, we should get a win here, but we might have to fight for it. And then they proved us all wrong.
Just a bit.
Yeah.
It's true. Week one is a lie, but that was great. It's like unreal.
Yeah, I mean, it was like, man. I mean, that was the only thing I would say. Is the other thing for me is when I go to a Saints game, I'm there from kickoff till the end. I might leave as they're taking the final knee and then leave, but I'm there throughout the whole of the fourth quarter. Whereas you find a lot of the people here arrive halfway through the first quarter and go home halfway through the fourth quarter. Or in that game, they went home at the end of the third. And I'm like, you're paying all this money, making all this, like you come out here. And to Americans, not all Americans, I don't want to say that, but to a lot of fans, like the game is just like a sideline. It's just something they do whilst they're there. And I'm like, no,
is it just like a bit of a social gathering? Like, whereas we go to the pub and meet our mates, they go to a game and meet their mates, don't they?
That's right. And it blows my mind. Like you're having a great game and you're leaving because you want to get out in the traffic. Well, man, that's going to save you, 30 minutes? I mean, like, and there's not enough, in my mind, God, the off-season is like, it feels like it's 2 centuries long, doesn't it? The off season.
Yes.
You finish the final game, and then you watch whatever is in like the final of the Super Bowl or what have you, and then got all that time to wait until the season starts again, and you try and get interested in the preseason. You try and get interested in the preseason, but there's nothing to see there. They don't want to show you anything.
No.
So you're excited about third stringers catching balls, and you're like, oh, he's great. Is he?
Yeah.
Or is he playing against someone who's selling car insurance next week?
So. I got that with Emmanuel Butler. I was sold. Different weapons. Didn't even make it in Canadian football.
Yeah.
No.
It's just...
Do you think... I was going to say, Martin, do you think because obviously you were saying about the excitement before the first game, which you were quite surprised about with the amount of Saints fans who were there and obviously getting into it. Do you think that was all just down on the fact that we have the new offensive staff and we didn't know what to expect? So there was a little bit of that, or what would you put it down to?
I don't know, because anyone I spoke to, Saints fans, we want to win, but nobody was really expecting us to be where we are now. And I'm not saying we're fantastic, because there's work to be done, but we're really turning a few heads. But nobody I know saw this coming. Nobody. I mean, they were all expecting us to beat the Panthers. Yeah. I'll be honest, I thought the way we beat the Panthers, I thought, we could have a good chance beating the Cowboys. I didn't think we'd be spanking the Cowboys. I didn't think we'd be knocking the brakes off them, which is a really good thing. So Kubiak, I think, is like, I don't know. He's like a secret agent. He's come in. He's changed everything. He's changed everything, but kept the same people.
Yeah.
And the league doesn't know what to do now. As we go through the year and we get into week 6, 7, 8, and 9, and there's more film out there, I think we're going to find different.
Do you know? Yeah. I was going to say, do you know what? There was before the start of or when Kubiak was appointed, he was asked. I remember an interview, and they said, "Well, what kind of offense are you going to run, or what you can do?" And he said, "I'm going to assess the players I've got, and then I'll work out my offense." And some people were like, "Oh my God, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing." But you can see very clearly he's looked at players. Went, "This is how I'm going to utilize these players. I'm just going to use 2 wide receivers. I'm going to stick Rashid in the backfield. I'm going to confuse the hell out of people." And you don't know what's coming. And it's simple, but it's confusing for defenses because they don't know what he's going to do. You see Taysom Hill and Rashid Shaheed in the backfield with Derek Carr and Adam Prentice. You're like, I don't even know where this ball's going.
Yeah. And it makes it impossible for defenses. I mean, and the other thing is looked at our team and said, right, what are our strengths? What are our weaknesses? We're very much playing to our strengths, right? The running game is just like incredible. Passing game, we're weak. We all had that big question mark about Trevor Penning. Like he can't pass block. Well, what's the game plan? We pass then.
No, just confuse them. Exactly. Confuse them. Don't let them know whether or not we are. And that's the whole beauty of play action, isn't it? It's to confuse. It's to unsteady defenses, but it's also to when you've got an O-line. I think he is obviously playing to their strength because the first 2 games the O-line has looked fantastic because of the scheme that he's put in place. So, but also it's, when you see the work, especially in the last game that Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson were doing as blockers, not only them, but also, Olave.
It's Olave, yeah.
What did you see?
That's when you, cause,
on the, what's his name? I've had a brainstorm.
Baldy.
But anyway, No, Cesar Luis is running alongside Kamara. That's it. Kamara. How can I forget that?
Yeah.
Kamara's like flat out leaving the defense behind. Who's next to him? One of the linemen.
Yeah. Cesar Luis.
That's effort, man.
Yeah.
That's effort. I don't
and
know
also,
how long to go.
That also emphasises buying, doesn't it? I mean, that was the one thing. It touched on the point that you were making, Dan, about he assessed the players that he had on the roster, and rather than coming in with this set-in-stone concept, he thought, I'm going to adapt the concept to suit the players that I've got. The O-line are all physical, athletic guys. Obviously, we know the trouble that Trevor Penning has had. Obviously, we know there's a confidence thing there. He's spoken about it. We all knew that was going to be possibly an issue. After the first 2 games, you just hope that Trevor Penning's confidence is through the roof, which means he's now going to become the player that we thought he might become.
And I think,
it's just a bit.
Going to get there. The only thing, I mean, we're playing it perfectly. We're doing so little passing then it's not a problem. Now, if we stupid penalties and get third and 10s and third and 11, third and 8s, and we have to pass, that's when the problems start. But touch wood,
Yeah.
we won't in that situation, you know. And then when
it's
we are
about getting in front, isn't it? It's like not getting behind, because then you haven't got to abandon the run, which we've made other teams do. We made the Cowboys abandon the run; they had to pass it.
Yeah.
And I think across the two games, Derek Carr has I think had 39 attempts. I think he's completed 30 of them. That tells you everything you need to know. I mean, he had 16 in the last game. So, I mean, God, I mean, we could, as Saints fans, as much as like from a point of view of the off season, obviously, you know, everyone was concerned. You know, we'd hear the reports about the O-line and you know, obviously from training camp to the pre-season's game, we didn't know anything because the media were being excluded from actually really showing anything. They were able to report on it, and a lot of the reporters were really high on what they were seeing, but we didn't see any of it. So we weren't entirely sure what was going on. Yeah. We can see now why probably we were not being allowed to see any of it, because they've come out the traps. And the first two games they played, both defenses have been confused to fuck. They haven't got a clue what's going on.
They've got no clue what's going on.
No.
To that point, Mike, right? Me and Mike are in a small Discord, and back in July, there was someone in there who was ranting and raving about training camp and not having fans there and whatever else. And I said, do you know what? If they don't want distractions of fans there, if they don't want the distraction of Hard Knocks, if they're doing all this to protect Derek Carr, which is what people were saying, they don't want fans booing Derek Carr at training camp, I said, let them do it, because the proof's going to be in the pudding when the season starts. And they've come out, they've had no distractions, they've been able to put the offense in they wanted to, they've put the performances they wanted to. And for me, it just says that they did the right thing, taking the team away. It's a shame for people from New Orleans, Louisiana, who didn't get to go. But at the same time, if they win a Super Bowl on the back, I don't think anyone's going to care that they didn't get to go to training camp. No. That's the way I look at it.
No. I mean, and training camp's overrated in my mind. I went a couple of years ago. Like I say, it's an hour and a half drive for me, but I was like, I want to go to training. I've never been to training camp. I want to go to training. Drove down there, got down there, and they cancelled it. So, you know, like it's 3 hours of a life. You get there, and they were like, oh, no, it looks like it might rain this afternoon, so we're cancelling it. And you're like, oh, my God, that's worse than not going in this place, you know?
No, so, training camp, I think training camp really, it's obviously for fans. It's probably for younger fans so they can get an autograph, or they can get this, they can get that. But then also, they did have the two, one in the Dome and one at Tulane where they did it. Yeah. And we saw the reports where the players were there for 2.5 hours after the game, signing everything that they could. So, some of the fans got what they wanted.
Yeah, and like I wanted to go there just so I could get a video of it and say this is what happens, because I don't know what happens at training camp. I've seen videos saying that you guys have, but I wanted to do like a vlog of like this is what happens and this is how you get treated and this is where you sit. But like down near the training facility, that's there's no shade, and it's like 100 and something degrees. It's bad on the players. It's bad on the fans. You know, like. Even if you bring an umbrella, you don't want to be out there for an hour and a half. That's like
no. To be honest, Martin, if the Saints somehow said, "Look, we're going to book you business class flights over. We're going to give you free access to training camp," I probably wouldn't go, purely because I ain't dealing with that weather. I've got Irish blood. I just melt. I'll just be a puddle of Guinness.
Yeah, it's a beast out here. It's a beast, let me tell you. I mean, I used to have a water slide business, and that's putting that stuff out and bringing it back again. Good money, but my God, that's work.
The size of those babies, taking them down.
I was going to say, we'll get into it a bit more, but that's the thing, like, there's nowhere, you'd think somewhere in the south like that, with that heat, there'd be like water parks and places to go swimming. Yeah. There's not. You can't go in any body of water.
They've got that's the other thing about water around. When I first moved over, I used to be a photographer. I've done many jobs, but I used to be a photographer, and in portraiture of some kids, like 3 or 5 year olds, two sisters. And I was like, oh, come and stand here and sit on this thing here, put your feet in the water and take a picture. And the parents were like, panic. I'm like, they ain't going to drown. You know, like if they fall in, I'll jump in and get them, you know. And I was like, okay, we got the shot in it. And I was like, and we were just a bit worried about the alligators. And I was like, Didn't even think about it. Didn't even think about it. I'm like, oh,
we
shoot. These guys
we
have
had
got dinosaurs living with them. You know, like...
Martin, you might be aware of our friend Alex, because anybody in the UK WhatsApp group probably is. But a couple of years ago, we went over to New Orleans for nearly 2 weeks, and on the middle weekend we were there, we'd met some guys that we knew who had a house on the sea. I can't remember exactly where it was. I wasn't feeling great on the Saturday, so I didn't go, but our friend Alex went, and so they had a big party in a bar. They were back at their house, which was on the front by some sort of river, and
it's down by. It's down.
Is it St. Louis? Not St.
It's where
anyway, it's
somewhere. Tig Notaro's from.
Yeah. So anyway, they all go to bed. He's out, so he decides he's going to phone his kids at 4:30 in the morning, FaceTime them, because obviously they'll be up and all that good stuff. So he walks down the front and he's just paddling in the water there, just like flipping his feet and whatever. And it was like, obviously, he eventually goes to bed. He tells the people he's with what he was doing last night. They nearly had a heart attack. They were like, "What the in hell are you doing?" He said, there are gators in there. So, us Brits don't understand it. I mean, when we paddle our feet in the Thames, the only thing that you're going to probably die from is dysentery or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I mean, it's like, and sometimes when you get in the sticks out here, you just see hundreds of them just in the bayous as you drive by. You're like, oh my God. It's like, you ever want to dispose of
I love it. Look, there you go. There's my alligator eye. I'm a big fan of crocodilia.
You know, I've seen that on a couple of the videos, and I was like, "Does he like dinosaurs?" And I was thinking, "Does he like dinosaurs?"
No, well,
it's dinosaurs. That's it.
But
right? It's
also,
it is a dinosaur.
Yeah, well,
sort of.
Well, it is. It's like a couple of people have said that to me. Oh my God, I love your dinosaur eye. So you know, crocodiles are dinosaurs. So
they were around at the same time.
We will touch on that a little bit later in the pod, Martin, when we're talking about your journey. Just right. So going back to the Saints, obviously we're all happy as can be. Defensively, we're playing brilliantly. Offensively, we're playing brilliantly. Like all you know, and special teams seems to be. Well, we haven't really seen much of special teams if we're being honest, but so it's looking great. So what we think? Yeah, I know. What are we thinking about the Eagles?
Again, I get tied up in two ideas with this, but I mean, I watched the Eagles and Falcons the other night. And after watching that game, I came away thinking, I mean, we can agree that the birds aren't real. I just don't think either of those teams were real. It was like two average teams slugging it out, trying to get a win. But I will say that our kryptonite has, I don't know about this year, but our Saints has been running quarterbacks. And so, you know, like with Jalen, is it
Jalen Hurts?
Yeah. He's a running quarterback, and he will scramble. I mean, I sat there with the Bengals last year, and the Saints should have won that game. I mean, we had them dead to rights. It was like 3rd and 20-something. And Joe Burrow scrambles around and runs into the end zone. I'm like, oh, my God, how did that happen? And it wasn't just a one-off. We struggle with scrambling quarterbacks. I'm hoping that we've got a plan for it this week. But that's the only danger I see. I mean, they're a good running team, but then we're pretty good at stopping the run, you know.
I think the plan is Willie Gay. I think Willie Gay gets significant game time this game.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, the thing is, again, God, when you've had trouble with Ridder and Dobbs, the thought of Jalen Hurts coming up is like, Bajan, who sort of halfway excelled in that game we were at last year. But I'm with Dan. I think I'm hoping that, you know, maybe that's the idea of, you know, Willie Gay in there, but also, you know, even maybe, you know, Alontae Taylor might be utilised in some way as well in that scheme to sort of to at least reduce the risk that we've got. But also, you know, with the Eagles, you know, the outside zone run, they've had big issues with it. Apparently, they're placed last at the moment in the NFL with the yards that they've given up for it. So obviously, the way that we've been playing, you know, against, and I just hope they target CD Juice. I hope they absolutely ram it straight up his you know what. But I was going to be really offensive there, but sorry, Dad.
He's been smoked twice in the last 2 games because I don't know if you've seen the tweets. He said at the start of the season, "I'm changing my jersey to number 8 in honour of Kobe Bryant, who's obviously from Philadelphia." And in 2 games, they've had him getting smoked for touchdowns, and they've had a picture of Kobe looking almost like looking down on him, like nah. But yeah, I think he's gonna. But
yeah, I mean,
CD, I loved him when he was with us, but not now.
I think he's going to try and wind up the players as well, because he's a good one at getting people flags, isn't he? So I'm hoping that they're having a word about that and saying, look, keep your head on, keep your eye on the scoreboard and don't fall for any of it, because he's very good at getting players flagged. He was for us.
Again, we loved him for it, didn't we? It's a little bit like over here in soccer. Like, if
Robbie
you've got
Savage.
Vinnie Jones, Robbie Savage, Vinnie Jones, you hate them. If they're on your team, you adore them.
Yeah,
and Gardner Johnson was that, but also like he sort of, even when he left, and we were all a little bit disappointed. Some of the comments he made about the city, it was like, "Oh, get the F out of here." Then you know what I mean? It's like you don't need to do that. So
don't do that. That's stupid. That's because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know what the future holds. I mean, there is in an alternate universe. I was thinking about this the other day. I was walking and I was like, in an alternate universe, there is a possibility that Kubiak, quite a high possibility, moves on to be a head coach somewhere. And we get Sean Payton as an offensive coordinator. That was one of the things that I was like, man, how would that work? Like if he comes, but
Martin, don't put that stank on us just yet, mate. Let's try and enjoy Kubiak for a little while. Come on.
I'd love to keep him because he's doing everything right. But I said at the start, before we'd even played a game, if he's good, he'll go, because offensive coordinators don't stay with teams if they're good. They get promoted. No. Defensive.
Ben Johnson is a complete anomaly, isn't he? Staying with the Lions, like they just go, and the only hope we've got is if the jobs that come up next year are really bad, and he's like, you know what, I'll stay for a year because I don't fancy going to the Giants or the Jets or the Panthers.
Or the other thing is that we're not quite finished. Like we have a really good run, and he feels that there's something left in the tank. But then
exactly. If sorry, Martin. I was only going to say, like, if you sort of get halfway deep into the playoffs and he thinks, like, next year we're really going to be. But also the thing about Clint Kubiak is, and we've sort of seen it in his pressers, is his type of personality, the sort of personality, his head coach personality. You don't know. He seems really reserved and, obviously very talented.
I was going to say, he doesn't like doing press, does he? He's not someone who enjoys being in front of a microphone and people saying, "Why do you suck?"
No.
Like he doesn't. I can see him maybe not wanting that, but then I don't know.
Anyway, let's in a good old catchphrase. Let's swiftly move on from that hex. So what are your predictions?
We win by 15.
Okay,
this weekend. I can see ahead. We can get ahead, and it's going to be loud in there. It's going to be they're going to struggle. If they're behind, they're going to because they're not going to be able to communicate. And so I can see it being a good 15 points.
Yeah, are you looking forward to this game, Martin? Because it's going to be sort of the atmosphere of old, if we want to sort of put it.
Yeah, I mean,
put it that way.
I mean, I love going to the Superdome every weekend, and I just love being there. But this is. I'm a little bit torn, I'll be honest with you. Yes, I love it because it's the Saints and it's the Superdome and it's loud. But then I look around, like where I sit, my seat, next to me, there's 3 seats and they've never been sat in 3 years, right? But they're not for sale. Really? I look every week to see if he's selling. He doesn't sell them. So that's somebody who's a season ticket who's buying those tickets, no intention of selling them, just in case they feel like going to the game. And I'll sit there this week, and there'll probably be somebody sitting in those seats, and I'll be like, like somebody who wants to be here could have been here, but you're keeping those seats empty. And that kind of, with me, I can't get to any game, although this year there's only one I'm going to miss, which will be the Thursday night game. At the moment, anyway. I know, and it's the cracker of a game as well, but I've got a job, and it's like, it's bad enough taking Sundays off without taking a midweek job, and it's a big job. It's not one I can turn away. So unfortunately, that Thursday is one of the games, or the only game at the moment that I can't go to. I do sometimes look around. I mean, I like the fact are empty because I can stretch out. I normally put a camera on one of the chairs and then film, But I do think somebody could be sitting there that wants to be there, and I also think, like, when I can't go, I can't sell the tickets. I'll find a family that want to be there, and I'll give it to them. I do a lot of, through my work, I do a lot of hospital visits and that sort of thing. And if there's a kid there that's got cancer who's a Saints fan, then he's getting my ticket. Him and his dad can go to the game. If I can't go, they're getting my tickets. I won't let the seats be empty unless, for whatever reason, I can't. But I will always try and find somebody who wants it. But now, the tickets have gone from $40 to like $180 now. I don't.
Do you know what? I've got tickets for the Raiders game, which is the last home regular season game of the season. I paid $300 per ticket. I got 4 tickets. So about $1,200 for 4 tickets, and it's in the 100s. And I wouldn't normally sit there, but I'm taking my kids for the first game. I've got seats right by where the players' tunnel is when they leave the game. And I was like, great view for them. That's looking like a great investment now, because if they carry on like this, they won't pay $300 if that's the game that secures them like number 1 seed or secures them the playoffs. No chance.
Yeah.
We're the same. Sorry, Martin. I was going to say I think we're in the 100s for the Falcons game in November, and I think we got them for about $200. So yeah, great investments at the moment. God, I'm hoping we are really, really still up there and going for it, because I'd love to go to a proper Falcons game where we're giving them shit. I would love that.
And the thing is, the Falcons don't travel. They don't even go to their own stadium. So coming to ours, they're not even going to. That must
be attendance for the football team, soccer team.
I know.
That's
got to, even when the Saints weren't performing, they sold their stadium out. Now, they weren't always full, but all the tickets were sold. No. But there, you look at it, and it's like, it's empty. When you look at a Falcons game,
it's embarrassing at times. Oh, yeah. It is when you look at that when you think about they're playing, obviously there are only 32 teams. They're playing in a Premier League in the NFL. And God, the amount of times that stadium is empty is just ridiculous. I know the Saints have been through some difficult times in the last few years, and obviously it's not full, but you never look at it and it's embarrassingly empty.
Even if you look at high school recruitment, the Atlanta metropolitan area is one of the biggest areas for high school recruitment, down along with Texas and South Florida. So it's a football city, but we just don't want to go and watch Falcons.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's like their expectations are way above their abilities. And so if they're not winning, then they don't go. And it's like,
no.
I guess like people are different, because we're used to going to watch football games and seeing teams lose. I mean, it's like, if it's penalties, we know England are going out. It's one of those things. It doesn't, it's just.
Hey, Martin, not anymore, mate. Not anymore. Come on.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that's true. But I mean, for my whole life, right up until about the last 5 years, that's been the rule.
That's fair enough.
And so we're kind of used to losing, whereas over here, everything's based around winning. And it's like, but there's lessons to be learned from losing as well.
Yeah, myself and Dan have had many a debate with our American friends about that type of thing and the attitude towards sports. Why I think UK fans view it a little bit differently to the way that some of the US fans view American football. And we've had many debates about it. And
it comes down to the fact there's no relegation. That's what it is.
Yeah,
there's more on the stake.
You either win or nothing
for a soccer team.
Yeah.
If you're the worst team in the NFL, you're going to get the best player the next year. I mean, God, there's no way that someone like Southampton are going to get relegated to the Championship and then get I don't know, Salah. It just doesn't happen, does it? It's just a different world.
Unless you're the Panthers, and then you just give away the best player. Although he's not looking great at the minute either, so.
You swap your whole future for one player and then bench him in week 2. That's like, oh my God.
Yeah. But so I think we're all saying we think it's going to be a win this weekend. I'd probably be in a round of. Sorry,
I was going to say, what are you thinking about Taysom? Because Taysom hasn't practiced this week.
Yeah,
do you think he's going to play?
they said it's precautionary, but the new rules, they have to declare everything now, don't they, on the injury report? I've seen Nick Hundy saying they've changed the rules now. Yeah.
It's down as a chest injury, thinking it could be like a broken rib, punctured lung, maybe. It's like...
Yeah, well, look at Marshawn Lattimore. That was down as whatever it was, and he had a tear on his kidney or liver.
Lacerated. It was lacerated kidney, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's our wild card, isn't he? Like, if he's in the game, they're even more confused. They don't know what he's doing.
That's it. I think as Dan was touching on, when he's sort of in the backfield with, whoever it is, you haven't got a clue. You don't know which, and, all of the analysis that I've seen, because obviously this has been a great week for the Saints on American football programs, because everybody wants to talk about us, which hasn't happened for about 4.5 years. And everyone's analysis, they always point to Taysom and the fact that he is that wildcat, because you just don't know what's happening with it.
Do you know what, right? We spent the whole, Clint Kubiak did that whole thing, and Taysom did that thing when I said, I went and met him. He talks about all these things he's going to do with me. I'm so excited about the season. We were all so excited. We were all hyping. It's going to be Taysom. I was saying he's going to get most touchdowns in the league this year. He's going to do this. It's genius by Clint Kubiak, because he's had him out there, but he hasn't really utilised him the way we thought he was going to.
Yeah.
And this is what I love about it, because it's almost, he's a decoy, but there's going to be a game where people's going to go, he's just a decoy, and he's going to go off. He'll get 3 touchdowns, he'll get 80 yards, and he'll probably throw a touchdown. It'll be like Clint Kubiak is setting things up for 4 or 5 games down the line. He's onions.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he puts out his superstars and then throws it to an unheard of. And then you're like, we've got to guard that guy as well. It's like, you just don't know where it's going. You don't know what's going on.
That first game, Juwan Johnson was 12-1 to score a touchdown any time. Foster Moreau was 14-1. If you'd had those as a double, you'd have been laughing. Yeah.
Raheem, everyone's like, who's this guy, Raheem? Now they're saying he's the new, the new superstar.
Tyreek
Hill. Again, I've seen a couple of clips where people are raving about him, and I can't remember. I think it was Chris Sims who sort of put him in the category of Tyreek Hill and Justin Jefferson. And I'm like, slow down a little bit. Like, I did a NFC South preview pod over here in the UK, and they asked for one of the players that I thought would do something this year, and I said it was going to be Shaheed. So obviously the first 2 games absolutely spectacular. But we need to see a little bit more. We need to see a little bit more from Shaheed, rather than just, those. What are you laughing at, Dad?
I'm laughing because last year I went on that podcast and they said, give us a tip for this year. And I said, Juwan Johnson, and he was rubbish last year. You've gone on there, said to Rashid Shaheed, you look like a fucking genius. And then look, don't invite that damn bloke on. He ain't got a clue.
But also, we just need to see a little bit more versatility from Sheehan. That's not a knock on him, and I think it is also down to the point that you were making, Dan. I think Kubiak is keeping a lot of stuff back.
I agree.
Through a city, you're not going to show your whole hand in the first 2 games, because if you do after the first 2 games, you're probably not going to win another game. So I think he's got lots of stuff locked away. And also, it was like when we spoke to Ross and John, and I was saying about the Mason Tipton, why did they have him? Firstly, we saw in that game the block on Kamara's on the screen pass. And yet again, what a beautiful thing to see the Saints running a screen pass that was successful. I mean, absolutely joyous. But also, it was the fact that the only one who outpaced Ruiz was Tipton.
Doing that before.
Celebrating as he's doing his block, which I thought was immense.
Yeah.
But also, I think that goes back to what Kubiak looked, and rather than coming in with a structure of offense that he wanted to have a look at the players that are available. And from what we understand, when we spoke to John and Ross about him, he's a really clever route runner, but he also is as quick as, or just about as quick as Shaheed as well. So you're going to have options all over the place. And that's obviously the way that Kubiak wants to set stuff up to go down the field. And let's hope that continues.
The long drives as well. That's what excites me, is we're starting on the 20 and finishing in the end zone. Like, we don't need to be starting on the yard line and get an interception and go in. We can start wherever you want us to start, and we'll get there. And it's like, perfect. Running the clock up.
Yeah. It's the run game, isn't it? Absolutely.
Well, to your point earlier, Mike, about special teams, and you said we haven't really seen much from special teams because we're thinking punters and kickers. Baldy did a breakdown on how the Saints don't let teams take it to the 30-yard line. They are going to chase you down and try and pin you inside the 20 on the kickoff. I was thinking, of course we are. The guy who invented this new kickoff is our special teams coordinator. He's already thought about how you stop teams. It's like, I've got a new way of doing kickoffs. I already know how to finish it and stop it. Like Rizzy's a special teams genius. But one thing I was going to say is we watched the Cowboys game on a Zoom call with some of the guys in the UK. I tell you, I've never had so much fun on a Zoom call in my life. It was screaming and hollering. We had people from the US join us. It's only about 7 of us, but it was, honestly, it was these last 2 games are probably the most fun I've had since 2018 watching the Saints. Like, genuinely, it was so much fun.
Dan, there was also that Greek guy who had some really camp jazz elevator music in the background at the bar that he was watching as well. He enjoyed it. That was me. I was in Greece when I tuned into the Zoom, and I tuned into the Zoom, but I was in this bar, and it was really loud jazz elevator music going on in the background, and I kept saying to the guys, "Can you hear this? Is it interrupting?" But going back to Dan's point, it was so much fun. I mean, even in the first quarter, just the excitement you felt, because I think from the point of view of the way they started out that game, you thought about, because obviously with the Panthers game, everybody was saying, it's just the Panthers. The way we started in that game, you were like, shit, this might be a real thing. And that's what was exciting.
It really is. And you can really enjoy it by half time, because like normally you watch a game of football and I catch every catch and put in every block, and I'm like reaching out to catch the ball, expecting everything to go wrong and holding your breath when they do. And by this stage, you're like halfway through the game, you're like, it's over. We'll just sit and enjoy it. It's like
it really was.
And our players are only playing 3 quarters. We're resting them, and it's like
that's
on the injury
well,
front.
Exactly. All right.
Mike, do you want to? We're at the, I was going to say, do you want to go with that quick?
All right, yes. Martin, so the question to you is, was it the Saints or the City? How do you get started?
Was it the Saints or the City? I would say it's definitely the Saints that here. I'll go through how I ended up here. So I always been interested in football. I was in the 80s. I was in the British Army, and that was when it was in its heyday, or early, I would say, in the 80s.
Yeah,
I used to watch it on a Sunday, and I was reasonably fit, but you never got to see team. They'd show you a game every week, and that was it. So at the time, I was kind of a Rams fan, and it was the original Rams, mainly because I watched Heaven Can Wait, the original movie, and that was all the Rams, and I was like, I quite like this sport. So I watched Heaven Can Wait, the movie, and then I liked the Rams. So that was in the 80s, and then as time moved on, they would always play the Saints and lose. I always remember they could never beat the Saints, and I was this Saints team, so I would be watching that, and then just, I guess I watched a few Bobby Hebert things and a few games, but I really got into it. Like when I left the army, and then I could stay. When I first started watching it, it was on Yahoo. I don't know if you ever remember that, but when streaming first came about, Yahoo used to own the rights, and you could watch NFL football on Yahoo. And I don't even know if it was paid for, but if it was very cheap. It was like $20. You could watch all the games. So it was Game Pass before this was around. Yahoo had the rights in the UK. So I used to stream it from there. Then I used a load of illegal streams. But then I got involved in British American football, the Colchester Gladiators, who this year became Division 2 champions. Good luck. Good job, Colchester Gladiators. You guys into British football at all? Do you watch it at all, or any idea about it?
Should be, because I don't, but I'm from Essex, so I should. We've got some decent teams. We've got the Spartans and obviously Colchester. So really, I should probably get a bit more involved in it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I used to find that it up that off season, because the NFL finishes and the British League starts, and that's summer.
Yeah.
So I used to love that, and I used to be a photographer, so I used to go and photograph the games, and I got involved with the management team, and I was too old to play by that stage. Well, but that's what I told myself.
Yeah.
I go to all the games and the away games and home games. So I got very involved with the British game that way. And then the Saints, let me think. The first NFL game in London was Dolphins, Chargers, was it? Who was it? Dolphins. Anyway, the first NFL game in London.
Dolphins Giants
at Wembley. And myself and the chairman at the time, we went down to London and we were like, let's organise a tailgate. So we went to the Green Man, the pub at Wembley, and we spoke to Mal there, and we organised the Great British Tailgate Party, the GBTP. It was the only tailgate at the time. So that was me and another guy, Dave Hogarth, from the Colchester Gladiators, organised Great British Tailgate Party at the Green Man. It went brilliantly. I mean, amazing. And people came because it was the only thing going on. The NFL did nothing, and all the fans did nothing. So it was the only thing that was going on. And we had to go down weeks before and have meetings with the police and all this. Oh, what team's coming here? And the other team, where are they going to go? And I'm like, they're all coming to this pub. And they were like, you can't do that. You can't have the home and the away team. I was like, you're going to have every team here. And trying to explain to the police it wasn't going to be an issue. You know, it's just like,
it wasn't Chelsea. It's not Chelsea Millwall.
Yeah, and that's what they were expecting. Anyway, when it went and the party was going off, we had the DJ and we brought in a guy from Germany to sell shirts and everything, and we had the ride on bull, and we did snail racing the night before. And then the police were upstairs like with binoculars watching one and like on the radio, and they got all these like police vans full of people that were going to come and arrest everyone when it all kicked off. And of course, there weren't any trouble. You know, like a couple of idiots who got drunk or whatever. But there was nothing. Yeah. And so after that, they loved us. And then when the second game came around, the NFL started talking to us and said, look, we want to be involved with your tailgate. And we were like, okay, you know, what do you want to do? But then they decided to do their own thing, which is fine. But yeah, so for 3 or 4 years, the GBTP, the Great British Tailgate Party, the Green Man. And then I moved. Then I got talking to the 49ers photographer who came over because I was a photographer, and I got chatting to him in the bar.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Oh, I've got a spare pass. Do you want to come and shoot the game tomorrow?" Yeah. So I went and shot the game. I was on the sideline for the 49ers Broncos, and it was
brilliant.
Tebow's first start, and you know, I shot the game, and I've got a picture of me. And just me in the middle, and all the cheerleaders, like all 40 of the 49ers cheerleaders.
Steady on, Martin. Steady on, Martin. You're a married man. You're a married man.
I tell everyone that I was walking past, and they asked if they could have a picture. So I said, "Yeah, okay."
We know how that really happened, mate.
So for the weekend, I had this pass, and it wasn't just that; it was the one when they did the tailgate in Trafalgar Square as well. And I had the press pass for that. So I was in amongst all the superstars and all that. So that was amazing. Quite good at talking my way into things like that anyway. So that was that. And then the Saints came over, and I got talking to some fans from this area, from Covington. Very good friend of mine, Randy, and his wife. And they came over, and I met them in London, and we drank and whatever. And they said, well, why don't you come back and stay with us for a couple of weeks? We'll take a couple of games. We're season ticket holders. We'll take you to a couple of games, and then, you know, like, you can experience it. And at the time, it was like winter, and I was a wedding photographer, and so that was a quiet time for me. So I came over, and I stayed with them for a month or so, went to a couple of 3 games, LSU games as well, and then went home again. And then I was basically coming back to America every 3 months, coming over, staying with them a few games and going home again. And I did that for like a couple of 3 years. And then I was booked to shoot a wedding in New Orleans. So I was going to stay with them. So I came over to shoot the wedding. And while I was there, I met my wife, my current wife. That sounds terrible. She was my future wife at the time.
We're going back to that cheerleader. We're going back to that cheerleader thing, aren't we, Martin? Come on, mate.
We might have to cut that bit.
We're going to put that out as a promo. That's going to be the promo for the episode.
You might have to cut that bit. Then people will be like, "Oh, I've got to listen."
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So I met her, and then I was coming back and staying with her, meeting her, and what have you. And then about a year later, we got married, and I got the green card. I had to apply for the visa to come over to get married.
Right, Martin. Sorry, this is the bit that we do have to skip because we've not yet had Dan cry on the pod. If you talk about the fact that you've got a green card, he might cry.
I'm applying. The lottery the lottery opens in October. I'm applying in October.
All right, sorry, mate. Start. Carry on.
No, you're good. You're good. So I've got my green card, and now I can work over here. I've got another, because it's a 10-year card. I've got another 2 years left on it, and then I can apply any time to be a citizen if I want, or I could keep with the green card. Not sure what I'm going to do at the moment. I'll be honest, because there's some advantages in not being a citizen. And so, I'm keeping my options open. And also, it costs money to be a citizen. It costs like $2,000 or something to do the paperwork. And the only thing that affords you that I don't have is the ability to vote. So, I'm not overly fussed about that because you make in life. It doesn't matter who the politicians are. So, so I'm a green card holder, and that's where I am now. So then I come over here. My first job, I was delivering pizzas, and you guys know if you're in the middle of Louisiana, not New Orleans, they're probably a bit more used to tourists over there. But here, where I live in Watson, you're delivering pizzas, and people think you've just landed your spaceship. They're just not used to foreign.
Right, Martin, I'm going to ask you a question. Yeah, and I need an honest answer.
All right.
When people stop and say, "Where are you from?" do they say, "Are you Australian?"
Yeah, every time. But I have an answer for that. I tell you what I say. I say, I must look like a criminal. Do I look like a criminal to you? And they get quite offended. And they're like, I say, Australia's where it's like a prison for Britain. It's where we send all the bad people. And I was like, that's kind of an insult. You don't want to ask people if they're Australian. And then they get worried.
Martin, we're hoping to get we're hoping to get a couple of Aussies on the pod in the next 3 or 4 weeks. We're gonna
they can do a clapback. They could do
a exactly. They could give it
be like rap battles, but with international Saints fans.
Yeah.
Aussies are actually. I got a good friend. I did a wedding in Australia, and I had a really good time over there. And they can give as much as you give them. They're good.
Oh God, yeah.
They've got the same. They've got the same attitude as Brits have.
Same with the Kiwis as well. I've got in-laws from New Zealand. They don't fuck about.
They've all got that sort of dry, ironic sense of humour that we've all got. Again, it's the other thing is the Brits, obviously the Aussies, the Kiwis, we all like to take the piss out of not only ourselves but each other. Yeah. And it's just that, isn't it? When you do that, it's like, not a problem. Yeah, see ya. Yeah. But you might know you're aware of Mark Daly, aren't you? Talking of Aussies.
Yeah, I know Mark. I've met Mark.
Exactly.
I organised, again, me being an entrepreneur and working hard at things. I started a Facebook group, the NFL UK Facebook group, which is still there. But the whole idea behind that was to get people to come over and come to games. And I organised the first official NFL UK trip, of which he came. I mean, it's the only time we've ever done. But he came, and there and another a few other guys, and so they came over and I looked after them. We drove them around, and that was all done through Sports Travel Tours, and so that was a cool thing. But I know Mark really well. We text quite often, but he's here almost as often as I am.
He's here this weekend.
He's
over this weekend.
No, he's over when I'm over. He's over in November.
Okay. It's quite a few Brits over this weekend,
for a couple of weeks.
There
are Matt Wayne, Simon. Yeah, there's a few over there at the moment.
It's amazing how people do actually make the trip. I tell you what a dream of mine is when I'm rich enough, which I'm nowhere near, is to have a suite. I want a suite in the Superdome, and I want to say right. December the 3rd is the UK team. UK time, and everybody comes out and goes in the suite. That's what I want to do.
Yeah.
That's always been a dream of mine, is to have a suite. And then the thing is, because I do a lot with children's charities, I want to fill it full of kids as well. When the UK Saints aren't,
lovely.
Because these people deserve to experience the experience of the Superdome. If your guys
Absolutely.
who are watching this have never been to the Superdome, save your money and come, because it's like an experience you'll never have anywhere else.
We had that last year, Martin. I think there was it maybe 2 or 3 people who came out of us last year who'd never been there, and it was even for us who have been there. And I know Dan last year when we went, you got quite emotional as well, didn't you, when you were walking back up to it? And that's the impact it can have on you. It can be, it can be, and it's funny you were talking about the guy who has the free seats who never turns up, and we sort of talk about. It's one of these things where you should never take it for granted being able to go to the Dome. Should never, ever do it.
No.
No.
And I said last year, when it got bad last year and people were booing, which really hacks me off. Here's my thing about booing is, if you're booing the team, how are we supposed to get free agents? Because if I'm the Falcons, I'm going to show him that video and say, you want to play for the Falcons? You want to play for the... Have you seen what the fans do? And play him the video of them booing. I'm sure that goes against us. You don't boo your own team. You're not happy. I understand people. You don't boo your own team. That really bugs me when that sort of thing happens.
But also, some people have got that attitude. Over here for soccer, when I used to go to Arsenal all the time, and there were times where we weren't particularly good, I'd never boo my team. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
You might be unhappy, but I just wouldn't do it. It's not in my makeup. But
no,
so you get over. You get. Sorry, Martin. I was going to say you're now married. I'm going back to the. I'm trying to be a bit Graham Norton here. Don't say anything, Dan.
Camp enough.
Jazz in the background.
So obviously you're married. So obviously we know you're sort of entrepreneurial. You've already touched on a couple of those things. I know you've had and you still have businesses in Louisiana. So what was the journey for that? Because obviously you were delivering pizzas.
Yeah.
Where does it go from there? How does it sort of move along?
As I said, my first job was delivering pizzas, because I'm sure you guys know when you do it, it's who you know, not what you know. Whilst I was still doing photography, starting again after I'd been doing it for 10 years in England, had a really good client base, and then you come to a new place, you're the new guy, you got to start all over again. So I was struggling to make enough money to feed us doing that. So I was delivering pizzas. Now I found that I could make more money doing that than photography, because people were tipping me. They're buying a $10 pizza, $20 tip, and they were inviting me inside to meet the wife and the sister and the daughter, and just because you got an English accent, because like, this guy's not. It's like so strange. So that was an advantage. And then from there, I went and worked at Walmart, and I worked at Walmart eventually I was running the sporting goods. So sporting goods in England is about soccer and cricket and all that sort of thing. When people talk about sport in Louisiana, they talk about shooting and killing things. Right? So I'm selling bullets, basically. So an Englishman selling guns and bullets is automatically going to start the conversations and everything. So people would come to Walmart just to talk to me because I've got a cool accent. And so I did really well at that. And then I got promoted out Walmart, and I ended up working in the academy. So I don't know if you realise, but Walmart and training like a school for Walmart. And in my case, it's down the road in Denham Springs. So I moved from my store to work in the academy in the teaching. I was teaching new managers coming in. Now, the perfect thing about this is it's a Monday to Friday with the occasional weekend stuff. Basically, you teach 1 week and then you train for 2 or 3 weeks, then you teach again. Well, because I knew the subject in and out, I've been doing it for years, I didn't really need to do the research. So, as long as there's no one from Walmart watching, I would get my iPad, which, like Walmart issued as an iPad, but I had my own iPad that looked exactly the same, had not a box on it. So I'd walk around the store pretending I was working, and I was actually running my own business from my iPad. So I'd be like sending emails and doing all this and all that. And if somebody saw me doing something, I can, like, way that I'm looking at this and checking out this because I'm teaching next week. So basically, I got like.
Can I just say to our American viewers, what Martin's just said there is very Essex. That's how the people of Essex operate.
Yeah.
And they're a bit woo and a bit way.
Yeah. Well, the other thing
here we are. We're London, not quite London though.
I'm a little bit Del Boy as well. I'm always looking for a problem. So one of the things I used to do all the time, I'd go on the clearance aisle. Okay, like the clearance aisles where everything's for sale. So I'd go on the clearance aisle, and there'd be like, I don't know, some furniture there that's like $100 off. So I'd take a picture of it on Facebook Marketplace, sell it at full price. When someone said they want to buy it, I'd say, okay, I'll meet you at Walmart car park. I'd then go and buy it and meet them outside and sell it to them.
Fucking hell. That is so... Anybody who's American who's listening to this, go and watch Only Fools and Horses. You'll get the references now. Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I'd do. So I'd go in there, and if you
look, brilliant. That's ingenious.
It's deleted now, but I've got loads of pictures of clearance stuff at Walmart taken on the floor of the store, and then when someone, I want it, I'll buy it from you. Okay, I'll meet you at 2:00 outside Walmart. I buy it and then meet them outside and sell it to them at full price.
That's brilliant. That is so brilliant.
Genius. That is genius.
No risk with that either. All reward.
No risk. I didn't buy it until I sold it.
Not even shipping. So, just walk out of it. There you go.
Yeah, so
just get your mate Dave to bring it out for you, don't you?
or sometimes like you'd get stuff like that was like the at Christmas you can't get hold of, and I'd know when it was coming in because I could look on the thing. Oh, it's coming in. So I'd call the wife. Look, be here at 2:00 because they're going to come and unload it and put it on the store. So she'd come out and I'd be like, oh, here it goes, onto the store, straight into the basket, and then we'd sell it on eBay for triple the price. But like it.
Martin's been keeping pulling business with Prime.
Louisiana wasn't ready for Essex. That's all I can say. No, Jesus Christ.
I mean, my wife will tell you, I can't stop thinking about all this money-making schemes that I see everywhere. Like when you get hurricane blows all these down, okay, and all the trees get blown down. And one of my things is like, if I had the time, I'd go and hire a great big truck, get people to pay me to cut their trees up that have fallen in their way. Pay me to take it away. I'd drive it 300 miles north and sell it for firewood. It's just money that's just being wasted. Or there to be made.
Yeah.
And I just see
all these oak trees, barbecue them.
Yeah. I mean, nobody wants firewood in Louisiana because it never gets cold here. Well, I say never, but, for 2 months of the year it gets cold.
You get to Arkansas, though.
300 miles north, you can sell it, and it's just money for a rope, and there's just so many different things over here. To sit in the Walmart lunch break, and they'd all sit there moaning about how bad their life is and the money. And I'm like, you just don't realise how much of a gold mine you're sitting on. Just in this store, like you go and buy everything that's on clearance and sell it on Facebook.
No, exactly. But also, it's taking advantage of an opportunity, and there's nothing illegal about it. It's just your entrepreneurial brain.
It's just doing. Yeah.
So anyway, then I worked at Walmart.
So once you rinse Walmart, what happened then?
Well, then I started about water. Okay, so let's think. So I went to 2016. 2016 is when the flood happened here. It was also actually when the Olympic Games were on. So the world never got to hear it, but we got like 3 months worth of rain in about an hour, or 3 years of rain in about an hour, and it sat over my house. This cloud sat over my house. We were the first ones flooded. And Louisiana's flat, and we are miles from any river. This was rainwater, and it just came in, and it flooded the whole of the Denham Springs area. Like everybody you knew had a house. Now, we had about 6 inches, so we weren't terrible, but some people got like 4 foot, 5 foot rushing through their houses. So it devastated the area. It destroyed, like everybody's house was destroyed. Nobody was going to work. It was like horrendous. So that was the background of the next stage of our life. So we're now living in a house that we've got a mortgage on. Lucky enough, we had insurance. Not everybody had flood insurance, but we did. And so because everybody needed everything at the same time, you couldn't get any workmen. So I did a lot of the work myself. So I cut the walls, I cut out the floors, dragged out the carpets, because you can't there because it's going to go rot, destroy the whole house. The insurance company said, yeah, you can do the demolishing, you can't do the rebuild, which is annoying. So anyway, we finally got a company to come in and rebuild the house where I'd cut it all out. And because I'd done a lot of the work myself, we got a lump sum to pay for that. So we got about 12 grand from the insurance company left over from the repairs because I work. So with that 12K, I bought myself a couple of water slides and a trailer. Which was our first business over here, Mission Inflatable, which I only sold this year. And that, you can imagine, in Louisiana, it's very hot. Everybody wants water slides and bounce houses, and it goes 10 months of the year. Fantastic business, but very, very physical. So that was our business. And we ended up with, at one stage, we had about 14 units going out every weekend. And if they're going out at 250 a pop, you can make yourself $5 or $6 grand a weekend. So that set us up. And then we were looking and we were like, we need something to get us through the winter. So I've been doing a lot of birthday parties, and there was a lot of dinosaur birthdays going on for 3 to 5 year olds. And I said to my wife, if we can get a dinosaur like you see at Disney or Universal, you can do dinosaur birthday parties. So that's what we did. I sat around, searched everywhere, eventually found somewhere and you could stuff, and it's from China. You can't get it in Europe. You can't get it in America.
Yeah.
You've got to get it from China. So anyway, we bought dinosaurs, and long story short, that's what I do now. So we sold the water slide business, and now I do the dinosaur experience, which is my business, the dinosaur experience.
Did you sell Mission Inflatable purely because it was just because obviously you said earlier about the size of them and everything? It must have been quite taxing.
There was a few reasons. Firstly, it's very, very physically exhausting. I'm doing it on my own. Most of the time, I may have had a helper occasionally, but most of the time I'm working on my own. I'm not getting any younger. And also the time was getting taken up as well. So I'd take them out on a Friday. People would book it from us for a Saturday. They'd have a Saturday party. I'd be taking it out on Thursday because I haven't got time on Friday to do it, dropping it on Thursday, and then picking it up Monday or Tuesday because on Saturday and Sunday I'm doing dinosaurs. So people are booking in almost a week rental of this water slide. So it got to a stage where it was just like too much. And also what really killed it was the insurance. When we first started, insurance was like $1,000 a year. Last year they wanted 8,000. So you got to make $8,000 before you make any profit. And I was like, it's okay if you've got 5 or 6 employees and you're putting out 20 or 30 units, you can afford that. But I was working on my own, so like $8,000 is a big chunk before you make any profit. So that was one of the main things that killed it, was I wasn't getting any younger, and the insurance went up, and I just didn't have the time. And the dinosaur stuff's, it's physically so much easier. So that's what I do now. I do dinosaur shows basically for kids, and whoever else.
I'm saying, Martin, give it a plug because we've got 43% of our listeners are based in the US. So
you never. Well, and here's the other thing.
Absolutely.
Like, in the US, there's probably less than 20 companies that do what I do. So while I'm based in Louisiana, I work all over the country. I mean, we price jobs in Chicago. We just come back from a job in Alabama, which was 8-hour drive. Get this, a birthday party, 40 minutes long. We did a 5-hour drive to get there, did the birthday, and drove back 5 hours. Now, you can imagine we're not charging small amounts to do that. So, we'll work there in the country for anybody. I'm really busy.
And that's called sorry, Martin, that's called the Dinosaur Experience, isn't it?
Yeah, the dinosaur-experience.com. So the dinosaur experience. And it's, and we visit schools, we visit libraries, very busy in June and July. I'm booking for 2026 at the moment, June and July.
Wow.
And it's,
blimey, that's brilliant.
I've got about 3 days left in June and July. And it's not just Louisiana. It's Mississippi, it's Alabama, it's Arkansas. It's like all the... And so, we've built up a great reputation. People want us. And I was honoured last year that I was sitting here working away on a computer, phone goes, pick up the phone, it's the New Orleans Saints. So I actually did a job for the New Orleans Saints in the Superdome on the 50-yard line last year.
And we saw the pictures and brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Yeah.
And I know that they're trying to do it again this year, but they're just trying to get dates sorted when they want to do it again this year. So, I mean, that's, to me, that's like just heaven, to be on the field and walk around and just, do your thing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing now. The dinosaur experience. I've got some other plans as well. Some other businesses I want to get going, but I just don't have the time to do them yet. But they are going to come. I've got some good ideas, and like I say, I eventually want to have a suite in the Superdome. That's a long-term aim, but you're talking stupid money. I mean, like it's like 120 grand for the season, something stupid like that.
Is it like I know people who used to have, I know businesses that had boxes at Tottenham, and you pay for the box, but actually everyone thinks the food and drinks included, but it's not. They bill you for that game by game.
Yeah,
Is it the same?
Up until this year, you had to pay for the food. This year, they threw the food in, but I think they're probably regretting that now because they could have got it. But you can get like three match things as well. Like if you want to go,
funnily enough, there was when I went onto the Saints website just prior to coming on here, just to sort of pull up a couple of little stats and stuff. The first thing that is advertised to you is the free game experience in a box. Which I mean, the thing is, from a British perspective, like the first year we went over, I think there were 3 of us. Last year there were 8 of us in November, I think. And that's at the time where you start to think, maybe we should consider looking at a box for a game, because the amount that you end up paying, you might be able to sort of get a slightly better experience.
I'm always torn because I want it, but I want it. Here's the problem. I've got 2 daughters. They're twins, not identical, but they're twins. They're both 21, and both of them have been into the suites. Both of them. Like, they could go every weekend if they want, because they're 21 and they're good looking and they hang around with the right people. I'm a Saints fan, pay my own money to go sit up very top there with binoculars, like trying to get the experience. And they're like, I get a text from, we're at the game. Where are you? We're in this suite, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, send me some pictures. I want a video of it. I forgot. Sorry. God. It's like
it should be send me some pictures. It should be girls. Get your dad an invite, please. Else
don't think about me.
Or else you're grounded. You're grounded.
I was saying on that box thing though, it's definitely something like Mike and I and James from Dome Patrol podcast have talked about trying to organise like a trip over, because people who haven't been before. New Orleans is, me and Mike have been 6, 7, 8, 9 times however many it is each. When you know the city, it's fine. But going to any city in the US can be quite daunting. So we've talked about maybe we'd do like a package thing where we organise it and bulk it up, and maybe work with one of these travel companies to say, let's take like 15 Saints fans from UK over and show them what it's really about. Not getting fallen into just the tourist traps and stuff like that. I think it'd be good. I think every big fan group should do it. And obviously, it's us and the Dome Patrol guys here, but. Yeah,
the Packers do it regularly. They take groups of 20 or 30 out to games, and that's the kind of thing I was thinking about when I first started to think about trying to do that.
Yeah,
it takes a lot of work to get them all built up and to get them interested in that sort of thing.
Me and Dan were in London in July for a fantasy fantasy meetup. And I got talking to a guy who ran it, who's a Bucks fan, and this year they were taking over 150 people from the UK, and the Bucks organisation themselves were helping to facilitate it. I think we just need to get to that point where
they don't have the UK market, the Bucks either. Bucks don't have the UK market, so they can't say it's a marketing rights thing.
So, but isn't the Saints France or something stupid like that?
Yeah,
Saints is France.
Saints is international marketing rights is France. I think the part of the thing is that before the international marketing rights came on, the Bucks UK fan club or whatever they are had set this up years ago. So it's like it's an organisation that's been set up and running, so hasn't sort of maybe had the impact of the international marketing rights thrown on it. So they already had a relationship with the Bucks, whereas now the Saints aren't allowed to have a relationship with official UK Saints fan clubs in the UK.
I don't agree with it, because I think it stifles fandom, and you're actually punishing fans who, you should embrace all fans around the world, and it should be an open market. Major shout out to our guys. Sorry, go on, Martin.
Yeah, so I had this conversation with the because they're actually pretty good. If you're a season ticket holder, you can get someone on the phone, you can talk to them, and I was like, what are you doing? Like, there's thousands of people. Manchester United, for example, Man United have an international fan club, and they all pay 50 quid each, and they get like a flag and a sticker every year, and they're proud to be season ticket holders. Yeah. I said the Saints are missing millions of dollars just by not setting up an international fan club. And then you can say we're playing this week. Oh, we're playing the Falcons. They don't bring anyone. All right, we've got all these seats that we've got to fill. Let's do a UK Saints fans to come over and give them a good time.
Promotion. Yeah,
and you do things like tour the training facility and tour the stadium and maybe meet a legend. Juice McAllister's there every game. Meet Juice, or Bobby Hebert can come in. It's easy.
Yeah. Oh, Bobby, you can bump into it. Like if you buy Bobby a drink, you're a friend for life.
We probably haven't even realised.
Yeah, he's a character behaviour. You can, I'm not saying he'd turn up and might want to pay him, but if you bump into him, he will have a good conversation with you.
I still want to get T-Bot.
Yeah. Well, he'd probably do it. Like he gets.
Yeah.
The way to do it is when you go to a game, get there early, because WWL, they do their stuff from the concourse up there. And in between, when they're doing their 4-hour commercials, go and have a chat with them then. You got half a chance. Because I've spoken to them a few times, not anything at them, just to say hello. And and they're very approachable people. They're very approachable, especially the ex-players, because they haven't got much going on. You won't get anywhere. The current.
So, Mike, can I just ask? Like, obviously, you started in the Saints WhatsApp group. We're fully aware of it, and I follow you on YouTube.
What's the YouTube channel, Mike? Inside the Superdome.
Yeah, Inside the Superdome. Inside the Superdome. So go and follow Martin on YouTube. Yeah. What made you start blogging from the Superdome? Did you only start it last year? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a couple of videos before. There's a couple of three reasons. Firstly, it's I do a lot of video production for my own company, Dinosaur Experience. Trying to learn more skills, basically. So I was trying to, and like video production is quite important in business, and I'm trying to get better at doing that. So that was one reason. I was like, I want to be able to, produce decent videos, and I'm not there yet. The idea is there, but it's still not hitting home. My thoughts are, I'm trying to work out how to do like a Top Gear version of going to the Superdome. So like comedy type thing, but like the British version. But anyway, so that was reason number one, was I'm trying to get better at video production. The second thing is because I run a business, I can cut off business expenses. So I came up with a cunning plan that if I did that and I get monetized, then it's a business income, so I can then get my season tickets written off as a tax exemption. So my season tickets, ideally, are being paid for by the business. And I do use the seats, as I said, to give away as gifts to, like children who... So that covers the tax reasons. Honestly, Mr. IRS, don't sue me. But like it's just like when one of the advantages of having a business is, unfortunately, you pay so much tax, but you can write things off against the tax and that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
The season tickets, like you guys, when you games, and I don't know how British tax works. It's a long time since I ran a business, but if you are getting monetized or planning to get monetized, you can put your trips on that. You can put your trips on that, and the business eventually would pay for that, and it's expense. But like my businesses are at a stage where we are we're paying a lot of tax, more than I like to pay. So we're looking at expensive ways that we can write off some of that on business expenses, and that's one of the things that we do.
And also, that's the bloody American way, isn't it? That's what everyone does in America. It's all about, and that's why entrepreneurship over there is so big, because obviously there are benefits to it from a tax perspective.
It's actively encouraged.
Everyone.
It's actively encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like running business in England compared to running businesses over here. Over here, it's you're looked at as the American dream, if you like. It's what people do.
Yeah,
like you come over, you work hard.
Martin, a very quick tip for you though, from editing and getting your profile up. Ask your 21-year-old twin daughters to show you how to use TikTok, because they'll bloody know. And that'll be wonderful for you, because again, it's like the world that we're moving in.
Yeah, I was really heavy in TikTok about 3 years ago, and I had some good. I'm viral on TikTok, but not my video. Someone videoed me at one of my shows.
Yeah.
It's a 30-second clip, and every 3 months it comes back up again. Somebody else has uploaded it.
Yeah.
And I have got my own TikTok. I just don't use it. But I should start thinking about it a bit more. But now I'm aiming more towards, my business-wise, I need more schools and professionals. So I'm heavy in LinkedIn at the moment. That's bringing me...
Yeah.
Because the beauty of LinkedIn is, like Facebook, I don't know if you've noticed, but I put that on Facebook, it doesn't come up on the feed 2 days later. And a lot of the time it's like, tomorrow we're playing the Eagles, and and when you look at it, it's like, oh, that happened 3 days ago. Whereas with LinkedIn,
Facebook's really weird, because and like myself and my sister have found this out. Myself and my sister, who genuinely love each other and interact with each other, neither of us ever see anything from the other one on Facebook, and we're brother and sister, and we never see anything from each other. I have to actually go and search for my sister to find out what she's put up on Facebook.
And the answer is because you're not liking and commenting her stuff. If you like and comment it will give you more of it.
I do, though.
You do?
I do, because we've actively spoken about it. Like, where something will happen, she'll phone me up and say, "Oh, I noticed you. Like, did you realise we went blah blah blah?" And I was like, "I hadn't got a clue." And then we started searching each other up on a weekly basis, just to see, and not saying that we only communicate through social media, but you know what I mean.
Sure, yeah.
It's just a weird one. Facebook's a bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
Unlike Twitter, which just puts anything on your Twitter feed that you don't want to see.
Twitter's not me. I do have a Twitter account, and I go there just to look at the stuff that people have loaded, but I don't put anything on Twitter. It's just, you've only got so much time in your life, and you're like, it's just not productive for me, so I don't bother with it.
No.
So, Martin, in terms of, to ask you, is there any food from at home you miss, the UK, and is there any food from the US that you like that takes its place, like from Louisiana?
I always, and it's stupid, but I miss fish and chips. Every time we go home, I've got to have as much fish and chips as we can, and things like mushy peas, and my kids think it's spawn of the devil. We have this thing as well where when they were younger, not so much now because they're older, but when they used to bring friends home, I used to make beans on toast, and that's hilarious trying to watch them eat beans on toast. Because my family, they can use pork because of, when they were kids, of pork mate. Whereas over here, everything's fingers. So I'd make beans on toast, and when their friends came around and give them beans on toast, and they'd be like, "How do you eat this?" They were like covered in beans. But yeah, fish and chips I missed. My kids think, not Cornish pasty, sausage rolls were made in heaven. They were like wine. And one of the things...
Greg's.
Yeah, Greg's, exactly. One of the things me and my wife have often talked about is if we opened a coffee shop, which we kind of think about doing, we're talking about long-term plan. We want to open our own dinosaur park, and the coffee shop will be called Jurassic Park, and part of the coffee shop will be sausage rolls, because I'm sure, because they do donuts over here, but only because they don't know what sausage rolls are. And I think you could fight Dunkin' Donuts with a good sausage roll shop over here and be very successful. So yeah, sausage roll, fish and chips, a curry. they got no idea what. I mean, you can find them if you work really hard to try and find a curry. But
funny, everyone says to us when they come over, "Can you take us for a curry?"
Yeah,
they come over from Louisiana. They go, "Can you take me for a curry?"
Well, on the last pod, John was talking about the curry that he had, and it was like he was just like he just fell in love with it. And you're right, you just got our friend Alex, who we spoke about earlier when we were over in the city for 2 weeks. He was desperately trying to find a curry house, and it just wasn't happening. So
it's just I mean, there's one in Baton Rouge somewhere, and I've only been once. And when we went there, it was like the food had been out all day. It was like, it just wasn't good because they just don't. People over here don't have it. But Mexican food, they'll like I go. I don't really know what Mexican food is, but you go in a restaurant and they're like, I don't know what this is. You read the menu and I don't know what it is. So my wife always tells me. But
I was a tip for anyone visiting New Orleans from the UK. One of the best cuisines you can get is Vietnamese food. If you haven't had Vietnamese food in New Orleans is very good. Some of the best in the world outside of Vietnam.
I mean, Louisiana food is really good. As long as seafood, if you like seafood, which I do, you can't go wrong. The seafood over here is amazing. My favourites, I do like a roast beef po' boy. That's one of my favourites is a po' boy. The steakhouses over here. I mean, on steak or steakhouse. I'm sure we would go bust if we stopped going there. I mean, we go to, sorry, not Longhorn, Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse is our favourite. Badly enough, there's one up the road, 20 minutes up the road from us. When I get in my car, you got Apple. You get in the car on a Saturday, it says it's 25 minutes to Texas Roadhouse. It knows on a Saturday when you go. You don't set it or anything. Right? And then when we get there, we have a girl who's our girl. My wife texts her on the way. When we get there, no matter how big the line is, she's got our table and drinks already on the table when we get there. And then we don't even order. She says, "Do you want the same again?" Yeah, okay. And she goes and gets it going. It's like, oh God, we come here too often.
I was going to say,
your Apple tells you that's.
Yeah.
I don't know if Michael appreciate, but as an Essex boy and a Londoner, I was going to say, how do you find crawfish compared to cockles and wilks?
I know cockles and wilks. My mum used to love cockles and wilks.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had a lot of. I mean, I have had them, but not a lot, and they're very. I mean, that about the English version, the cockle and it's very just salty food, isn't it? It's like straight oysters without anything on. Whereas over here, crawfish, they're like go to town on all the different spices and this, that, and the other. And I don't mind crawfish. I'll eat crawfish, but it's more of a social aspect. To me, it's like you've got 4 hours of breaking open these things and trying to get it, for a little this big. It's like, like you get a great big plate full and you think you're going to get food, but actually out of all this, you could probably earn half a plate of the food. So, but it's more of a social aspect. Everybody stands around.
Yeah.
And
it's a very social eating experience. You're absolutely right.
I got crawfish when I was in Vegas recently, and there was I've had crawfish in New Orleans. To say there was no meat on these crawfish in Vegas is an understatement. I was popping the shell. I was like, "This it's not even worth me trying to put this in my mouth." It was so bad. Like to your point, Martin, is like out of season, no good.
Yeah, and that's when it's out of season, they start importing them all, and then they're no good at all. I crave British food sometimes, but you can't. You can buy it. You can actually buy it frozen and have it shipped over here. You can get fish and chips and things like that, but you're paying like $20 for a fish and chips.
Yeah, stupid amounts of money.
Beckham was paying something stupid to import pie and mash, wasn't he, to LA?
Yeah. I mean, you can get it all, but you're paying stupid money for it, and that's like candy as well. Like you get decent chocolate in England and get it shipped over here, but it costs so much. Every time we go to England, because we've got friends over here, loads of like Milky Bars and all that sort of thing, and they're just like incredible. They think their food's good until they've tried it.
I think
the reverse of me with Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah, God, yeah. I was going to say we're nearly an hour and a half in. I think I'm going to wrap it up by asking you actually both a quick question. which is on Sunday. Who's going to be the game changer? So, Martin, on Sunday, who's the game changer?
Oh, that's hard because it really is a team game, isn't it? Really, I mean, before you could say carry the team, Drew will carry the team, and like you could be 3 scores behind, and Drew was going to do it for you. Whereas now, really is a team effort. But if I had to pick a player, I mean, the way Kamara's playing, I'd probably go with him. I think Kamara could be the difference because if we can get the running game going, we'll win the game. So I would say Kamara.
Dan, yourself?
I'm torn between Alontae Taylor and Chase Young. I'm going to go for Alontae Taylor. I just think if they start to rush, Jalen Hurts, he's got the speed to come off from that slot position and get in. But between those two, I think for us to win, we need to nullify the mobile quarterback, and one of those two is going to do it.
Yeah. Okay.
What about you?
I'm going to go Olave. I think Olave is going to have a game. I think he's going to have a really, really big game.
I think we're going to set it. Mugs off CD Deuce. That's all I want. Mug off CD Deuce.
It's all I want. On that note, I think we'll bring it to an end. Martin, thank you so much. And also thank you so much because this was, even though we've been speaking about this for a while, we literally organised this earlier on today in about 2 hours. So myself and Dan really appreciate you making the effort to come on and talk to us. And I think your story is absolutely fantastic, Martin.
Sure. Well, thanks.
So I really appreciate you coming on.
I've had a good time. I'd be happy to come back at any stage, as we'd
love to have you.
But we really should think about getting the UK fans together and doing it because, it just makes sense.
Now myself, as Dan touched on it earlier, myself, Dan, and James are really having a conversation about this, trying to organise, especially from that Saints WhatsApp group. It'll be next year because James, unfortunately, has had a surgery on his foot whereby he's not able to travel. I'm over in November, so I'll hopefully see you at the Falcons game, Martin. Dan's over in December for the Vegas game.
Raiders game, so I'll be over New Year's, so I'm really looking forward to that. But if we can get a chance to meet in person and buy you a beer,
before the game,
it'd be great.
That's the beauty. Yeah, that's the beauty of the Superdome is it doesn't matter where you sit; you can always meet somebody and then go to wherever you've got to go.
Yeah, wander around. Absolutely, Martin. Thank you very much, my friend.
All right, go Saints.
Who dat?
Go Saints.
Who dat?
Who dat?